So ever since I decided to become a professional artist, I've always wanted my own dedicated space, my own studio that I can call my workplace. Now, I've always dreamt of having a big space, a bit like Picasso or Matisse, Monet, for example, knowing that's not really going to be a reality. Actually, it's going to be a more intimate setting, perhaps, like Joan Erdley's Glasgow studio, or Jack Vetriano's front room of his flat. So what I have here is a converted shed, one that I purchased online, and I'm going to take you through how I converted it and show you around the space. So I hope you enjoy this. So after months of searching, I came across a company called Power Sheds. Now they claim to have the world's most adaptable shed. Really? Well, according to the reviews, yes they do, and it seems as if I'd come across the perfect shed for my needs. It was tall enough for my 6-foot frame to fit inside, but it's still under 2.5 metres at the ridge, which means it falls within the planning regulations for outbuildings in your garden. With good eaves height and windows to let light in, I could also buy a matching base frame, so a set of timbers that you screw together to use as your footing for the shed. And the price, well, it was cheaper than almost every single shed that I'd seen so far. Delivery would be in a month, and so I pulled the trigger on this 14 by 8 shed. Roll on to the beginning of the new year in 2021, and the shed arrives on a couple of pallets. It takes quite a while to unscrew all of these, but eventually we're ready to start. So once I'd had confirmation of a delivery date, it was time to start removing the old rotting shed. With that out of the way, it was time to prepare the ground, make up the base frame to level it up. On top of this, I laid a damp-proof membrane which would wrap around the floor of the shed. The floor panels were insulated with polystyrene sheets and then laid on top of the base and the DPM, which was stapled to the edges and onto the top of the floor. This would eventually be taped to the internal vapour barrier. More on that in a moment. With the help of our son and my brother-in-law, we gradually fixed the wall panels together, and I decided to place the windows to one end of the shed with the door in the middle of the north wall. This would allow a good level of natural north light into the shed, especially where I was planning to put the desk. The novelty of using these power sheds is that you can move the windows and doors around to wherever you choose. You're not stuck with one design. It makes it really flexible and really helps you to get the best out of the building. Roof trusses were next, followed by the roof panels. Everything screwed in place and the final felt covering, and the shed was complete. Now onto the internal fit out. Because I'm going to be working in this space all year round, it needed to be insulated and watertight. So the walls and roof were insulated firstly with polystyrene sheets within the panels, and then a foil-backed bubble wrap insulation was stapled across the front of every panel, making sure to overlap them from the roof down to the floor. The joints were taped, which makes sure there was a continuous vapour barrier wrapping the inside of the whole building. This was then taped to the floor DPM, so if any water gets in through the roof or walls, it can run out of the building under the wall panels and doesn't come inside the building. Finally, I added tongue and groove boards to the ceiling and 9mm OSB Sterling board to the walls. In hindsight, I should have gone slightly thicker with these boards, as they do flex a little, but it's more than adequate for my needs. The walls were then painted white, and I laid this retro mosaic style lining on the floor. I came up with this idea to lay LED strip lights inside this little channel that I made, which consists of a thin piece of sterling board and a piece of roof batten that's been painted white to create a channel. As you can see, that means the lights can sit in there, and they're then controlled from here, and there is an infrared receiver because I can also control the lights by remote control. I bought these lights from Amazon, and I shall put the link in the description. I was finding that the LED lights weren't providing enough for this end wall where I've mounted my own wall easel. So I have installed a spotlight up here, which is plugged into the mains. I have a switch that runs all the way down into a socket there. And this is my wall easel that I created. Just made out of short lengths of timber. So I brought these bits and pieces from Amazon. So this thread goes through to this block of wood at the back and that clamps it in place, and that's the same top and bottom, and a couple of runners that moves up and down, which is just screwed straight into the wall. And so far it's working a treat. Really pleased with that. Hopefully I'll get lots of use out of it. Because I'm working here all year round, I had an electrician install this heater. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. There's a Kiros by Roint. I think that's how you say it. It's an electric panel heater. Works by convection like a normal radiator. And that's on a isolated spur to the mains. So far it's keeping me nice and toasty. So this is where my main desk is. You can see the heater there. I'm trying to keep it tidy, but it's not necessarily happening. But this is a perfect space for me now. Nice natural light from the window by the desk. It's very comfortable to work here. Got plenty of room. I'm really pleased with it. Now, in comparison, I looked at a studio that was in Newmarket, which is about 10-15 minutes drive away, and a space this size would have cost me between £250 and £300 a month. All in, I think this is really good value for money. It's an investment in our future. It will last me for many years. I'm looking forward to spending more time in here being creative. But I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's been interesting. I hope it's also inspired you to perhaps look at creating your own space. Till next time, see you later.